Yeah, I'm Ira Johnson. I'm just assisting the commissioner in the department, school leaders, everybody with communications. The purpose of these meetings is to check in with all our parents who may have questions, concerns. We want to know how you're doing so far since we reopened. It's been quite active the last few days as far as COVID is concerned. Um, and yesterday we had our first meeting with the preschool families, and this is a second one. We were expecting a few more, but this is just you at the moment. The commissioner sent her apologies. She was supposed to be here, but she's now dealing with an urgent matter, and she wants everybody to know that she will be available if you have any questions for her. I'll pass it on to her and get back to you. So I don't know if you know who's on the call, but we have Shirley Bucci, who is the Assistant Director for Early Childhood Program, and Carmelita Trott, who is an Education Officer with the Early Childhood Program. So you're in good hands, and you have the luxury of having three of us and one of you. So all your questions, complaints, you can, concerns and all of that can be addressed right now, right here.
Okay, great. I'm just here with my son's father as well, so I know he has a few questions.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So how has it been going for you two and your child? Is it one child you have in school or two?
Actually three. One in preschool, primary, and senior.
Okay.
Okay. But make sure you come to the other meetings then, the primary and senior meetings. Right now, I think we're quite equipped to deal with the preschool issues, if there are any. How's that been going?
I think so far, for the most part, it's been going well. I know the one question I would have is how are we looking at, because I know Ryder last year was being seen by the occupational therapist, but this year she's limited to a different school, and I guess it's limited services. So are we looking at increasing those services, or is it going to be sustained for the rest of the year as it is now?
Okay, Ms. Trott is the person that you might even be familiar with. And so it sounds like you're asking a question specifically to your child, which is fine. And so, Ms. Trott, we will direct that question to you.
Okay, so Mr. Lightbourne, is this Derek?
Yes.
Okay, hi. So we're talking about Prospect Preschool because it's different therapists at different schools. So how are you tonight, Mr. Lightbourne?
I'm good.
There you go. There you go. And there's, hey, how you doing?
Okay.
Okay, so your son's not been receiving OT at Prospect Pre?
I don't think so. I think Ms. Millet is his.
No, that's learning support.
Okay,
so do you mean learning support or occupational therapy?
Learning support.
Okay. So she has been very. Go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry, can I just interject very briefly because I didn't mention this before. These meetings are recorded, okay?
They're being recorded,
yes.
Right. And the promise was that we would upload it onto the private Facebook group for the preschoolers.
Oh, so names. Okay.
So I'm just saying that because I know you're talking quite personal stuff.
Right.
Is that okay?
Yeah, we can just talk about service, Mr. Johnson. So in each preschool, we have learning support service, and that's what Mr. Smith is talking about. And so what I'll do is find out, I've been sick myself and I've been on vacation. And with the whole COVID restrictions, when we started school, I don't know if you knew, but when we started school, the specialist teachers that we're talking about were assigned to one school for 2 weeks, and then that actually got extended. And so they weren't going around to the different schools. So the the specialists are responsible for certain schools, and Ms. Bucci can interject as well. And so that's why you haven't seen a lot of her, is because we've been going through COVID, hurricanes, the election. It's been a lot of things happening. And
Right.
so we were trying to maintain bubbles at each school. And so we were given a directive that they stay at one school. We started off with 2 weeks. It was working well, and we wanted to increase that. I know we're now in November, but with the October break, there have been some reasons and some situations that have prevented the service. But what I can do, because we don't want to call names, is get that person to contact you so that you can have a conversation about the services provided at the school. And I will facilitate that conversation, okay?
Thank you.
Sure. So do you have any other questions for Ms. Bucci?
I guess the other question is, with the recent outbreaks that's taken place, and I know you're probably still just assessing everything. Have there been considerations in terms of the kids staying at home or remote learning?
So Ms. Bucci is asking about remote learning because of the recent outbreaks we had. Is there a plan with remote learning for our children if this continues? I think that's kind of the gist of it, right, Mr. Smith?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Yes, the department has been positioning itself for an outbreak response. And so even as we speak, recently we have had to respond to COVID contacts, mainly COVID contacts of individuals who have been in contact with, or close contact with individuals with COVID. And so we have, with the abundance of caution, been looking at, and not looking at, we have a plan for classroom, if there's a concern with the classroom or a year level or school, then it's managed that way. So there is a possibility that at some point we may have go remote, but right now we're not looking to have full classes remote at this time, unless the response is necessary to what is happening on the island. So none of us really know the future, but we can plan for it. And so we would be
So your audio's gone. Your audio's gone, Ms. Bucci.
But I hear you. Go ahead.
You can hear me?
Can you hear Mr. Smith?
I just heard it start hitting again.
Okay.
I missed a bit.
Yeah, so I was saying that we may not go full remote depending on the situation, but we are prepared to have children learning distance, but it may be a class, it may be 2 classes across the year level, or our response will be based on what is going on. So as you can see, we have classes, not a whole school closed in I think it's prep, and then there may be, you may learn that it's another class out. Right now, at the preschool level, we are maintaining all of the distance, as well as the hand washing and the mask wearing. Of course, the preschoolers are asked to wear the mask coming into school, and when they leave, but when they're in the classroom, they don't have to wear their mask unless you want them to.
I do think though that if an entire class is quarantined, then that class will be entitled to remote learning, correct? So there is a plan for that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's kind of the information you need to know, right?
Yes, there is a plan. If we have to go remote, there is a plan for preschools if we go remote. And Ms. Bucci started to say that the schools will prepare packages like it did before if necessary. Yes. Right, Ms. Yes.
Yeah.
So we are ready to go remote if we have to go remote. We're not going there right now because we haven't had any outbreaks in preschool. But if it is, Ms. Bucci and the commissioner and the team will make, put that plan that we have in place for
Right.
that recovery period of quarantine for 14 days. So
Yeah.
it will be
There
remote.
might be like a 24, 48-hour period as they get into gear.
Yes.
Because as you can imagine, there will be a public health response as well,
Yes.
where there's contact tracing and everybody's trying to get their feet and all that. So from what I understand, and we will be communicating this plan in the near future, but from what I understand, that's the gist of it. There will be a little bit of a break as the professionals get into gear, and then the remote program takes over for the whole quarantine period.
Yes.
Yes, there's a 48-hour period, and we're looking to get packets out to parents, and then we'll take it from there. But we have provided remote last year during, the sheltering in place, and that went fairly well.
Yep.
Sorry, Miss Bucci, as you can tell, is having audio difficulties. This happened yesterday to the commissioner. So she's using her phone.
Yes.
Through Miss Trott's phone, and that's how the audio is coming through. I don't know why this is the case, but we'll try to figure it out later. Is there anything else you wanted us to discuss, Mr. Lightburn?
I guess the other question was, has any consideration been given to looking at the social bubbles and how we can probably try to restrict them a little more, or it's just what it is for right now?
In preschool, they're pretty restricted. In preschool, each class of 10 are in their bubble. They go play outside together. Most preschools, they're napping in that bubble of 10. So most preschools have a tight bubble of 10. Right. So we can't get any tighter than that because it's 10 children to a student. But as long as we're maintaining those in preschool, we should be okay. At Prospect, for example, it's 3 classes of 10. They all do things differently. Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, at nap time, they're all together in that one hole.
Okay. So Ms. Bucci, he's talking about nap time, and I know some of our preschools nap separately, but at Prospect, he's asking specifically about Prospect because the children aren't in separate bubbles during the day, but at nap, he said, for instance, they're in one room. So I can address that. You want to speak to? Can I hear?
We have our inspections, and in some instances, the bubbles are being maintained within a class bubble, but in a larger room. So, for instance, some of our schools are not separate classrooms like what you have at Prospect. And then at Prospect, we have a large hall. And so you can have the groups in a large room, but separated by,
separated.
so that each group is not on top of each other. And so you're still maintaining, and there's a plan, like how do they, walk, how do they go in, and which way they follow, so that there isn't a lot of crossing over, or there isn't any crossing over. So that is, each school is different, but we are, keeping the bubble within. There's only one school that all the children are together, and that school only has 12 students. So they're functioning as one bubble, although they have two classes. So it's very.
Are you getting the sense that they're not being kept separate in that at break time, Mr.
Anyway,
Lightman?
I think sometimes it's specific to Prospect Primary, but I guess my other concern is at school there are social bubbles which you can pretty much isolate. And I have no problem with what's going on at Prospect Primary. I think they're doing an absolutely wonderful job.
Okay.
Outside of school is where things begin to get a little muddled, I believe, and we have very little control of
That's
what
right.
people are doing.
That's right.
You know, so that's probably where the bigger concern comes
Yes.
from. And as I said, from the education perspective, you can't
Yeah.
control what people do outside of the school.
Right.
Correct.
So this evening there was a press conference, and the Minister of Health as well as the Premier were there, and I believe the Chief Medical Officer had spoken. And what was being shared is that the government is asking families and the community to decrease their amount of contact outside of their family. So one of the things the Premier said was to try and limit it to, I think he said like 2 or 3 families that you would be mingling with to kind of reduce your bubbles. The other thing that he talked about was the clubs, where that seems to be an area where the contact is may have been more loose, I guess I could say. So so I think that your concern is shared, that what happens like after school, because of course we can be responsible for what's happening in school. And so because, like you said, we cannot have control over what happens outside of school, but when the Department of Health comes in to do contact tracing, because we are maintaining our bubbles such that we are keeping them within their bubbles, then it lessens the amount of contact when they start to do the tracing, and the Department of Health will see our clean line for that part of the day that the children are in school. And so where it will get, I guess, a network is depending on whether children are, in other after-school programs, if they go to dance, what they do on the weekend, or football, and all those other things, because those activities many children are now starting to engage in. So I think it would be, for us, is to continue to maintain according to the protocols which are through the Department of Health. Ms. Trotinoff contributed along with the preschools had input, and then we're conducting inspections. So that's one thing that the department has increased, is to ensure that the schools are maintaining. And I know that this week and next week I'll be out in the schools doing some spot checks, and the commissioner has us with a electronic form that we can kind of do surprise visits and take a reading on how well we're doing.
Yeah.
How
is your... Sorry, go ahead.
The other question I would have is, has any consideration been given, should we actually go back into a shelter-in-place situation, how preschoolers will move forward into primary school?
Well, we actually had that experience this year gone, because we went in shelter in place mid-March, and we never reconvened. And so the preschoolers have gone on to primary school. And so we have had that experience. What we can only, with the children that we know, we do our best to pick up from where they left off. And we do know that some children may have kind of had a decline in some areas. In other areas, they may have had some increases because they're at home socializing and, helping out and with the self-help skills. So we have to take children from where they are. So when they are received into primary school, unless there are some extra circumstances, we would expect for them to have an orientation period, and where they would get adjusted to being back in school, learning routines and following. Some children really got used to being at home and didn't want to go to school. They were happy to be with their parents. I did last evening. We met with a group of parents, and Mr. Johnson, you may remember where one of the fathers spoke up and he said that his child had really regressed, and they were very concerned. But after a while, like up until now, they've seen tremendous progress, and they even said their pediatrician had commented and was very impressed with the progress that the child had made. So that was a child, I don't know if it was that child was coming from like a child care, like a daycare facility, and had been off for the summer. They may have been seen by child development programs, but their child definitely had concerns. They regressed, and then when they went into school, they picked up again. But of course, there's an orientation period, and some children may need extra support, and that's where Ms. Comrade Leader Trump will come in. And extra support doesn't mean having an extra person. It may mean having a plan where the learning support teacher or speech and language goes in, as well as the classroom teacher tries different strategies. We have other like educational therapists that are also available in other offices.
And I'll just add one thing in, when children start school in P1, they will have an assessment and they'll have a screening tool done with them. So the screening tool is just to find out where the children are at with their alphabet letters and numbers and counting and stuff like that. And the actual assessment is a phonemic awareness assessment. And that's to see how children rhyme and
Hear the sounds.
Yeah, hear the sounds of letters and stuff like that. And so the children do come in, we give them a period of adjusting to the rules and expectations in P1, and then they're given this screener and this assessment, and that gives teachers some added information of where to take the children from where they're needed, where they need to be seen from. So I'm not concerned so much about the transitioning because we have those screeners. And of course, like Ms. Bucci said, we have learning support teachers, OT, PT, reading teachers at the school. And so if any intervention is needed, we have the individual learning plan that's introduced to parents for children if necessary, where the whole family works on those goals. So there are many things put in place to help children that may be at risk, I'll say that. Okay.
Yep. Have you been receiving the newsletter, Mr. Lightburn?
Yes, we get the newsletters on a regular basis, thanks.
Okay, is it helpful? Useful for you? Too much?
No, it's not too much. I don't read them as thoroughly as I probably should.
Ah. I like your frankness. I like that.
But yes, I do get them.
I hope you don't delete them as soon as you get them.
Oh no, I got all 7 of them, I believe. And when the headlines come up, you normally read the headlines, but then
Headline.
you forget to go back in and read
See the finer detail.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I tend to do that with my emails as well, but I will say that if you are if you're not in one of the Facebook groups, you should probably open that email and read it. You know, at least scan it. You know, there might be something there that, you know.
I think we are in the Facebook groups as well, so it's easy to.
Oh, good.
The level of information that's coming at this point in time is definitely very useful and very helpful as we kind of go through these periods.
Good to know. Great. Oh, there's somebody else coming in, Gina Lambert. I wanted to take a minute. The example you gave, Miss Bucci, was from the survey. So, did you complete the survey, Mr. Lightburn?
So actually, we didn't complete a survey, but I think on Facebook, that's where we got the invite for the Zoom meeting.
Right. Okay. That was in the newsletter as well, so you didn't miss that. That's good.
I think for the primary school, we definitely filled in the survey.
Oh, great. Okay, good. So I can show you some of the results because the survey is closed. I pulled out the preschool results and they're pretty good. But let me just welcome Gina Lambert. Good evening, Miss Lambert. Just getting her to unmute her mic.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
Fine.
Can we see you, please? Can you turn your camera on, please? Is that doable?
There you go.
There we
Hi,
go.
Ms. Lambert.
Hello. How are you?
How you doing?
My name is Aya Johnson. I'm a communications consultant with the department, and with us are Shirley Bucci, the assistant director. Her responsibility is early childhood, as well as Carmelita Trott, who is also with the early childhood program, and we have another parent, Mr. Lightburn. So we were just discussing, just sort of taking the temperature of people and finding out what their experience has been since we reopened the schools. These meetings are really meant for the department to listen to our parents and try to address any issues that you may be having, but also tell us what's going well as well. But it's nice to hear that things are going well. So, what's your experience been, Miss Lambert, with your child at your school?
Yeah, my son is well, the temperature checking has been going well. I have no issues. I think his school is doing a good job. I don't have no issues with what they've been.
Okay. Is your child adapting well to all the protocols and everything?
Yes, he's used to the masks and the temperatures, and yeah, his adjusting and adapted.
Wonderful. Do you have any concerns for the future now that we're getting a few classes going on quarantine and stuff like that the last couple of days?
Just
Cause you anxiety at all?
I'm just concerned. Just want to make sure that the schools are following the procedures and the protocols that still doing the wipe downs and keeping the children in the bubbles, and just want to just make sure that my son is safe,
Right.
and that they actually have
I don't know.
protocols in place on if something was to happen, that it could be dealt with quickly.
Yes. So which preschool does your child attend? You don't have to tell. Southampton Preschool?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you asked about if there is an outbreak, we do have a plan. Ms. Bucci can tell you more about that. But at preschool, we do have a plan if we have to go remote and we have to close a class or a school. But I'll let Ms. Bucci doesn't have her volume on, or something's not working. So we're using my phone. So
Okay.
I'm gonna let her respond now, okay?
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Bucci.
Yeah, so first of all, I just wanted to say about the cleaning. You know that we have cleaning persons in the school to assist with the cleaning during the daytime. And that has been a major added feature or support to ensuring that we are keeping our classes as clean as possible. So in terms of the remote plan, we have been preparing a breakout strategy, and so we're looking at class level. If something were to affect the class level, or just a single classes, or a school, and we would want to have 48 hours to deal with, like Mr. Johnson was saying earlier, all of the contact tracing, the testing, or whatever has to take place before we would provide packets. But we're working on preparing packets for parents, but also we have a plan for if we had to go remote. We would use, you both are probably familiar with the Teaching Strategies Gold, and using that platform to communicate with parents and for parents to see how their children are doing, their progress, but also activities that you can do at home. And another big hit, and Ms. Trott, I'm going to ask you to talk about this because you were quite excited about Ready Rosie, what we used. And we're ready for it, but we didn't want to overwhelm the schools and the teachers because just the protocols and all of that was a huge addition to what their daily task and routine is. But Ms. Trott, would you speak to Ready Rosie and what that offers?
Yeah, so Ready Rosie, we got through Teaching Strategies Goal, and it's an excellent tool for parents. So it's only like, I think the longest video I've seen is 5 minutes, 4 to 5 minutes, but it's usually 2 to 4 minutes. And it goes through, like, say, for example, it's a counting activity. It will show you how to do that activity with your child at home. And so it's a quick, I saw one the other day and she was getting the child to learn rhyming. And so she had him outside in the yard, I think, and she was giving him 2 words and was saying what rhyming means. And so it's a quick video for parents to do if their children learning those skills. So even though they're out of school and you're not their teacher, like a classroom teacher, it models for you, and then you take that lesson and you do it with your child anytime during the day. And because we know they're only 4 years old, we know we can't have them on the laptop or the computer for more than 15 minutes at a time. And so we have to break that time up for children, and we have to let them do a little math lesson, then a little literacy lesson, and then they have to have recess where they get some fruit for energy, and then they need some time to go outside. So it's a little different structure in the preschool level as it is to the primary level. So that Ready Rosie gives parents another added avenue of teaching their child something. So when Mr. Smith was talking about children losing skills, this would help parents to keep their skills sharp. And of course, some parents don't know how to teach their children rhyming. And so these little quick videos give you tips on how you can reinforce a rhyming skill for your children. So I was excited to see it because I know, like Mr. Smith said, for the scoops, you know, he doesn't feel like he has time to read the whole thing. And so these videos is in the same vein. It's not that we're giving you something home and you're gonna watch 15 minutes of it and then you're gonna go and do it with your child. It's 2 to 4 minutes, quick and easy. It shows you how to do it, and then you take it away and you can do it several times throughout the day. It could be sword and forks, knives and spoons. It could be matching toys. It could be getting magnetic ladders. And so I just like it because it gives parents a really quick thing to do with your child throughout the day. Because we know children cannot be like this, be on Zoom listening to their teacher, even though they love their teacher. The teacher has a wonderful lesson for them. We know that 20 minutes developmentally appropriately is all children should at a preschool level handle at a certain time throughout the day. So we can't do a half an hour, even though some people say, well, got the children's attention, it's too long, even for their core to be sitting and being on the computer. And so this remote learning is going to it's going to be very different, even for you, Mr. Smith, in thinking what is it going to be like. It's going to be very different for your child that's in preschool than for your child in primary, and most definitely for your child at senior. So we have to go according to their level. But preschool and all our preschools, they will have wonderful lessons for you. But just remember that they're only 4. And so we just want to make sure we're grabbing their attention really quickly. And that's what those videos do. And I'll make sure that Ms. Joyne sends that to you if you haven't seen it already, Ms. Lambert, because it's nice for you just to see how it looks since you're one of our parents. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. That sounds
You're
interesting.
welcome. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's exciting. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just want to sort of interject that I think, going forward, the idea of a class being quarantined for 2 weeks will be probably more and more frequent, because the numbers of COVID in the community are getting more and more. Like today, I think there was 4 more. Yesterday, there was
6.
8. And I think the message needs to go out to parents that you don't need to panic when you get that message saying, there's been a close contact within the school. It doesn't mean a child has COVID, All it means is that somebody within that school community may have had a contact outside of the school, and out of the abundance of caution, the health department is advising that a particular segment, or maybe even the whole school, I'm just saying it could become the norm, as we go forward. So there's no need to be worried about it, because the health department is being very, very professional about how to handle things like this.
Yep.
And you also as parents, you know the experience your child is having at school. You should always ask questions, to make sure that nobody's slacking off on the protocols, because that's what's keeping the schools safe, And to date, we've had no student positive for COVID, as far as I know. Yeah, so that's what I thought I'd interject there. So, any other questions or comments, Ms. Lambert?
That was it for me.
Okay.
Ms. Thompson, maybe you might be able to share the survey, some
Yes.
of the survey.
Data.
Okay, I'm about to do that now. I don't know if you, Ms. Lambert, did you ever see the survey that we sent out?
Yes, I did do the survey.
Oh, you filled it in. Good. Okay, so it's closed off now. So I'm just going to share some results of that for the preschool level, since we have a bit of time, and you might just find it interesting to see what other parents said.
Okay.
All right. So, I need to share my screen, innit? Sorry. I'm looking at it, but I forgot to share the screen. All right, share screen. So, can you all see that?
Yes.
So yeah, the questions about people's confidence level for their child's physical and safety and health. The majority of respondents actually said they were confident or strongly confident.
Okay.
About 9% said they were unsure. So I think there's a fairly confident parents population. Concern about your child's psychological and emotional health. 50% are not at all concerned. 12% are like slightly concerned. A little more than that, about 18% somewhat concerned, and 18% are extremely concerned.
Oh, okay.
There were only 28 parents that responded to on the preschool level to this side of. What percentage is that, Miss Bucci? That's about 10.
I'm sorry, I can't. What? Say that again.
Out of the
Sorry,
395, oh, sorry.
28 respondents from preschool to the survey.
He was asking what percentage is that?
I don't know what he's saying.
He's asking, so it was only 22 people that responded to the survey?
Oh,
And so he was asking what percentage was that out of?
That's not very high.
No, not at all. Because we have like 395 parents. And so if one parent per child responded and we only got 22, that's not even.
We've got 28. Some people skip questions, so that's less than 10%.
17,
Yes.
that's about 18%, but I was thinking it was about around 20. But what I would say is that
Less than that, yeah.
that is I know from my experience with surveys, you only get, when you send out a survey, you get less than a quarter. You may get about 10 to 15%. When we put out surveys, you have to send out hundreds to get this.
Sure. But the other thing is not everybody's on the mailing list, right? Are the Lightburns, are you both of you on the mailing list? Mr. Lightburn? Are you? Oh, I can't hear you. You got it on mute.
I think he said he gets the
He's on Facebook and he gets the scoops.
He gets the scoop, so he may not get the emails. I don't know. But
Right. No, so the survey. Yeah.
All parents have been invited to join the Teaching Strategies Gold platform, and they can get communication through there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. So most of the people who got this survey were actually on the mailing list. So not every parent, I'm saying, is a contact for their child. So if there's two parents, maybe only one is on there. So it's very difficult trying to determine the response rate.
Yeah. So our goal is to have both parents receiving the information, so that if we have the contact information or email for both parents, it's our goal to have both parents in the loop and included in communication.
Right, great. Okay, so let's
representation of the group.
Right. Okay. So the other question was one of the other questions. It is in my child's best interest that my child continues to attend school in person. Everybody agreed or strongly agreed.
Yeah.
Which is good, I think.
Yeah.
And it is in my own best interest that my child continues to attend school. There was pretty much broad agreement there. Some people, you like that question, eh?
Yes.
Some people neither agreed nor disagreed, but most people are sort of in agreement. Mm-hmm. And we asked this question about how well people are adjusting to the protocols, and everybody's agreeing or strongly agreed that they've adjusted very well, which is a bit of a relief, because there was a lot of concern, if you remember, before we went back, as to how, especially those who are going to school for the first time, how will they adjust being in a strange environment? and
Yes.
not allowed to touch each other or play the way they were playing before and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems as if, the children have been, according to these parents, have responded well. And they also all generally agree that the school is doing a good job with the safety protocols. Are you two parents, are you all sort of in broad agreement with all this stuff as well?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yes.
think the school is doing a very good job, especially with the safety protocols and ensuring that the temperatures are taken and that during pickups and stuff that social distancing is taking place by the parents at least. Um,
Yeah.
but I also think that when I look at some of the survey questions, children are very resilient. So they have, like, I know our son has adjusted very well. Um, to the changes in how he goes about during his school day. And it's interesting because he does an after school program somewhere else. And, as soon as he goes in, the first thing he does is just hold up his wrist and he's like, go ahead, take my temperature.
Wow.
You know,
Awesome.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. People, like parents were worried, when I spoke to some of our psychologists, they were like, don't worry about kids will just, they're so resilient, they will just have no problem with it. And I think that's what's been happening, I haven't heard any major,
No.
emotional breakdowns or anything like that. So the other questions were about whether the measures were too restrictive or not. And some people, about more than 24%, said they were too restrictive. A small percentage said they were not restrictive enough, and 70% said they were just right. Which is kind of what I was hoping would happen. There's not a big rebellion against all these measures. We will be in
Right.
big trouble if parents didn't accept it.
Right.
And most people also felt that their children's learning was progressing well. So a few people were neutral about that, about 10% or so.
Mm-hmm.
And also, most preschoolers agreed that the quality of teaching at the school was at a good standard,
That's good to hear.
which is good news, isn't it?
Yep. Okay.
How does, I'm just curious, how do parents make teachers accountable? What do you do to help make your teachers accountable?
I think in our case, because we've had our teacher this is our second child with the teacher, we've gained a very good relationship with her and the school. So the accountability is there, and because of some of the challenges that we have had, that constant communication has been there. So there's a good comfort level there in terms of being able to speak about what's going on, and she communicates very effectively. Um, One thing is that also utilizing the portals that government has set up, um, and going and checking the messages and looking at his report card and have a
Right.
better understanding of those things. So, you know, as parents, we also have to look at what responsibility we play in putting things in place to ensure that that learning is continuous.
Wonderful. That's good to hear. Is that about right? I'm just continuous communication, right, Ms. Bucci? Is that about right that the parents need to be continuously communicating with them?
Oh yes, definitely. And that's why I was saying when the invite goes out to the parents, we want the parents to accept, because that is a way for us to continue the communication. And I believe Mr. Lightbourne was saying, even with the report cards, that's being shared, and you can get videos. I think last night I talked about that. Mr. Lightbourne, have you seen any clips of your child in any activities where they are able to share those types of things as well?
Yeah, we normally get WhatsApp messages, and there's types of things that we see where Ryder's doing what he does.
Yeah, Ms. Trott, I couldn't quite
Oh,
hear.
he was saying, yes, he's gotten a couple of videos through WhatsApp, and he's seeing his son on some of those videos participating. That's what he said.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
And I don't know about Ms. Lambert, what your experience has been with communication, and what has been shared with you.
What's been shared with you, Ms. Lambert, and have you had any communication of the videos and stuff?
Yes, we have we have the newsletters, the weekly newsletters, and then we get the WhatsApp. Yeah, we do get communication through our WhatsApp as well.
Okay.
And have you had the parent conference yet?
Yes, we had that last week.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
wonderful. How did that go? Was because of that was remote?
We had the option. We had the option of WhatsApp or on the
Zoom.
on the premises. On the premises, yeah.
Oh, on the premises. Okay. Okay. Right, because not everybody has access to technology, so we have to still allow some of that. Parents to be able to come in and sit across a 6-foot table and have your mask on and talk about your child. Some we have to have that understanding that some parents don't have access to technology, so that's not another way of communicating.
Right.
So you're generally happy with the quality of communication from the school to your home, basically?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
The audio is not very good from your end.
I know. I don't know how come it's going down, or maybe my fan's dying.
I think mine is.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, it is
Yeah,
too. Yeah. Okay, that's why.
if you could stay on, we need to solve this problem because we're managing without the audio, but we need to figure out what's wrong with it. So
I agree. For tomorrow, yeah.
if you could stay on after the meeting, we could probably troubleshoot it.
Okay.
Okay, so
Thank
is there
you,
anything else we
parents.
need to talk about?
We really appreciate your
Thank
interest.
you.
I see someone there is relaxing on his mom and probably transitioning for bedtime.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Isn't it wonderful? You don't have to wear a mask with your own children.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi.
Say good night.
Hi.
Thanks for taking the time out, everybody.
Yeah, appreciate it.
No
We
problem.
do have another 20 minutes if there's any burning issues. Sorry, go ahead, Ms. Bucci.
I was just saying, I'm trying to see his little face in case I do make some school visits. I don't go into the classroom, but I can peek in. I might have just seen him.
See him. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for your input. And certainly we hope that it's also been useful to you. Mr. Johnson will be putting together some communication based on feedback and questions that the parents have shared over the course of the 2 evenings. And so, Mr. Johnson, you might want to talk about what they can expect.
Okay. Well, there were some questions yesterday that we need to follow up on. I think one of them concerned the travel policy. When somebody travels, what's the exclusion period, whatever. And we're following up because there is some confusion around that. So we're following up with the health people.
Yeah.
And once the health people are quite busy right now doing contact tracing and dealing with some cases in the community. So there's also I will be sending the report on the survey after the department has had a chance to review it properly.
Yes.
Because what we don't just take this service for fun. You know, we analyze it and see, you know, whether there needs to be a response. And so the commissioner will look at it and will discuss with the officers, relevant officers, and I will write a report to the survey, and we then go back to the parents. We're basically saying, this is what you told us, and here's what we're doing about what has been told to us. So you can expect that probably over the next few weeks. We'd also like some feedback on how these meetings are going as well, so that we can improve them. You know, if the technical issues have got you down, let us know. Because they bug me. We'll try to fix it. And what else? I think that's about it, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot. Appreciate
Good
it.
night.
Thanks a lot.
Good night.
Good night.
Yes, night.
Have a good week.
Thank you.
Okay.